Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pole Shift News, the home of the mavestar observatory. As you know, I'm Gene. Guys, good few things coming up in this video. I've popped the data cards out of the Trimag system and the magnetosphere data. The data are already uploaded and processed on the website. If you want to go over there and have a look, poleshiftnews.com, you can. Also, we're going to show you where we are with the first muon detector. It's about 95% complete now. Most of the components have been mounted on the board, and like I say, I'll just give you a quick show where we are with that. But as usual, guys, I want to thank those few people that are supporting us. And it seems really weird, over the last 3 or 4 days there's been hardly anything put in the PayPal account. I was almost thinking that someone had hacked it and stole the money, but I think it's just the fact it could be that the kids are going back to school or what. I really don't know. It's peculiar. But the main thing is, guys, is we need to keep the funding going. You know, we're doing more this year at the observatory than we ever have done, and we're still making magnetometers. We're still in the process of building these muon detectors, and of course we've got another one on the back burner, the cloud generator, the cloud chamber that we need to see the cosmic particles with. So, you know, at the moment there isn't anything in the pot, and whilst it remains like that, we can't continue ordering the parts that we need. So, you know, if we can give it a little push and get some money in, we can you know, begin ordering a few more parts and getting that going again. But you know what it's all for, guys? It's all about trying to answer these questions for us. It's about, you know, keeping the tracking of the magnetic North Pole so that we know how close we are to that all-important 40 degree. And a bit later on, when we have a look at the Trimag data, you'll see that that anomaly that has started around December time is still ongoing and continuing. And we shouldn't just take this for granted, because when we see a shift like we're seeing now, or a change in the data that we've been collecting over the 2 years, it should be a time now that more attention's paid than ever, because something very strange is taking place over the northern hemisphere. And we've got a bit of a strange data set for the magnetosphere. For some reason it's gone up 4, but it also didn't record all the data. So I've reset it. All the equipment is working fine. Just a bit baffling as to why we got the reading. I'll have a look at that with you a bit later on, guys. So yeah, guys, if we can get some support going for the observatory, that'll be fantastic. We can get ordering a few more parts, and we can keep doing what we're doing, because what we want to do is get these magnetometers out to Brazil and South Africa. We've got another one going on around about the region of the equatorial region, the place, I think it's Bali. Yeah, we've got one going to Bali, and you know, we want to put these muon detectors out in the field as well, so we can get an idea as to how much low intensity protection we have, how much cosmic radiation is inbound in them regions of Brazil and South Africa, as opposed to how much you know, muons are detected in the high intensity regions in, say, likes of Australia, the UK and the United States, and also in Hong Kong as well. So yeah, it's important, guys, that more than anything that we keep the support going. I know a lot of people out there think, you know, that there's plenty of support for the observatory and we'll let someone else do it, but that's not the case. We're lucky on a daily basis if someone, if 1 or 2 people chip in, and that really is the case, guys. We're not making millions here. I can't even afford not to go to work and do this, so it doesn't pay me a living, and we certainly don't earn a great deal off the advert revenue that we've only just put on this year. And the other thing is, guys, I just want to say, look, it's not about the money anyhow for me. It's about helping other people. It's about finding out the information, and it's, you know, at the end of the day, if we all work together, we all get the answers. If everyone leaves it for everybody else, I guarantee you the answers will never be forthcoming. So, you know, we have to work together in order to get, you know, things done, and in order to answer those important questions. This is not a time in human history where we should all be sat with our feet up in the air. You know, we really are going through some strange and rare anomalies. You know, the magnetic reversal doesn't happen every year. This is a rare event. Even if it was an excursion that took place between 12 and 14,000 years ago, it was still a long time ago. and it will affect us even more so this time round because the level of technological advancement that we're at the moment. So you've got to bear that in mind. Please don't take it for granted. This has already killed people even at this level, and the proof of that is widespread. It might not be directly as a result of the pole wobbling a little bit, but the result of more cosmic radiation coming in, causing droughts, causing famine, causing people to go out of business. It's really a serious business, guys. And the nature of these anomalies are, affecting people's lives, if not taking people's lives. So, it is important research that we do here. So we're looking at the most recent Trimag data. As you can see, I've pulled the SD card this morning and processed the data and put it up. It is the 11th of the 9th, 2019, and our anomaly, where it shifts, around about 300 miles, is still affecting, the magnetic poles at the moment. We are still getting that shift, and this is the new anomaly that we detected around about January or December this year. As you can see, here is one incident of this anomaly taking place, and here it is again. And in total it shifts about 4 degrees, and that's equivalent to about 200 or 300 miles. But then we are seeing more peaks of 13 degrees. That means in 2 years the magnetic pole has migrated 3 degrees, and in 2 years it's moved around about 150 miles easterly. So it is still heading towards Siberia. Tomorrow I'll do a Google map, and I'll put on there the longitude and latitude of the current magnetic North Pole position for you, so you can see for yourselves. And we'll also have a look back over the history of the pole migration since the 1900s, so that you get an idea that things are moving faster and faster in these present days, and it can only be an indication that we are not far away from the poles of this earth reversing. And if anything to go by over the last 30 years with the changes to the climate is anything to go by, then we can only expect that at the point of where the poles go into a reversal, there'll be more of those freak weather patterns that we've experienced over the last 30 years. And they're just like the magnetic pole. Not only is the pole going faster and faster towards Siberia, but these events are becoming more frequent. And I want to say this, guys. We talk about climate as one of the biggest problems now affecting everything. I think, yeah, it is an issue, but I think environment is more of an issue. And I've been doing a little bit of research on the side, just looking at documentaries of places all around the world where the land has been depleted, overused by cattle and cattle rearers, and it has left it in a desert format. And there's a small group of people that have asked the question, why have we allowed it to get to this condition before we've done something about it? And there is like regeneration schemes out there now to turn places that look like deserts back into lush green agricultural land. What we have been doing over the last 50 years is just abusing this planet, expecting that we can put crops in the ground and keep taking those nutrients out the soils, and just allowing cattle to devastate green grasslands into almost barrenous deserts that don't support any life at all. We've just completely stripped the goodness out of these lands. And it's a good job that a few people have taken it upon themselves to act and bring the awareness to other people about it, because if we continue like this, guys, we're going to run ourselves into another obstacle in the gauntlet. That's what I always describe it, this gauntlet, and in there is lots of these obstacles that we face as major changing events for ourselves and our way of life on this planet. We have to start taking responsibility for the damage that we've caused to this planet. It isn't like people say, and obviously these people that say this have not done the research. This world cannot continue to sustain human population growths at the rate at which it is at the moment. You know, we're at 7.5 billion people on board this planet. Can you believe it? And we are devastating the forests, we are devastating all these lush green fields, and you know, we're doing it as though, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, at some point, you know, we've got to pick up the book and we've got to then make the changes. But you know what my fear is, guys, is that by the time, you know, actions are taken to, you know, combat some of these situations that we've got coming, it'll be too late, because people will already start dying off as a result of it. You know, what we need to do is look at the key points. It's not just about the changing climate, it's about the changing environment on our planet, and the environment is what directly affects us. So we've got to do something about this. You know, we can't just keep raping the earth of its health and proteins and the nutrients that are in the soils. We can't just do it, guys. We have to, you know, start taking action now if we want to prevent, you know, something else down the road that is going to affect us. That's all I'm saying. I know I've gone into a bit of a rant about this, but you know, when you look into it, we are devastating the nutrients globally of all the soils on this planet. Think about that. It's absolutely horrendous, I think. Anyhow, let's have a look at the magnetosphere data. So like I said, this is the magnetosphere data, and you can see that it's not a complete month, because usually in a complete month there's a couple of thousand or so readings. We take a reading every 15 minutes with the magnetosphere sensor, and also there's this anomaly here where it's jumped up a few microteslas. So not only have we only got a quarter of the data that we usually collect, we've also got a bit of an occurrence of some sort here. But what's baffling me is that after this anomaly, it just carried on going as though it was, you know, business as usual, albeit at around about, you know, 202 microteslas. So I'm baffled as to what's gone on there. I've checked the magnetosphere sensor and, you know, just left it running for a couple of hours and then pulled it back out and checked the data on there, and it is still reading at the 202 range. So, you know, it's a bit strange. We'll have to just see what happens over this month and see if it comes back down or it continues at that level. But one thing I do know is that it hasn't been moved or altered or anything like that, and I'm quite baffled as to why it is showing the reading what it is. So, and I can't explain also why we've lost you know, 2/3 of the data as well. So it's very interesting. Quick update on how we're progressing with the muon detector. As you can see, most of the surface mount components are now mounted onto the PCB. What have we got here? We've got the peak detector. All the components are mounted on. We've got the DC-DC booster and the op amps, and we've also got the amplifying circuit all complete on there. If you have a look, guys, I mean, I really struggled with which one is it. That component there, you can see just how small the legs are on this. And you know, it was a real game to solder that one on there. So I started off with the worst ones, which I knew I was going to have trouble with, which was this one and this one here, because the legs on them are so small. In fact, all these components have been, I've had to hold them with a tweezer, a very fine pair of tweezers, hold them on there, put a bit of solder on the board, get that melted, and then bring the component over to the melted solder and just let it sit there in the solder until it solidified, and then, you know, I could tack the other side on. But all the joints I've checked with a small microscope. I mean, the soldering's probably not the neatest, but it is done. So like I say, I've got to order one resistor, because annoyingly in the resistor kit that I had, it didn't have it, and that's the 226 K ohms resistor. And there's the little tick list of all the components that have been actually put on the PCB at the moment. So we've got the SD card 2x3 header there. This will fit into that like that. This is the bottom of the actual board. I've got to get a chip for that. That just you know, converts the C plus language so that we can write it off onto the micro SD card. It's like a converter. So I've got to order one of those. That's another component I haven't got yet. That's how the SD card will get mounted, and obviously you're going to have the SD card holder on the back of there as well. So, but the resistors are all soldered on there. That's ready to go. As you know, I completed the SIPM and the Syncilate PCB board. There's the resistors on the back of there, and that, if we turn this over now, there's a few more components that I've put on here. I've not soldered the rails on the Arduino yet, and that's because I want to upload the program to the Arduino, make sure the Arduino is working, and then I'll just put it back on the track like it's sitting in the pins or on the headers right now. There's a bit of soldering that's been done underneath there as well. You probably won't see it, but there's a bit of soldering work underneath there as well. The header is there now, soldered on for the SIPM. We've tested the SIPM, we know that's working. We've got a 3.5mm jack which has been soldered onto the board, and we also have the onboard temperature sensor, just checking the temperature of the device as it's working and taking the readings. So a couple of little things to put on there now. There's the headers for the OLED screen. I've ordered the blue screens, so when you see the writing up on the screens, it will be all in blue. I've got to order the 5mm LEDs. So just a couple of little components. It's about 95%, as you can see all the ticks on the list there. We're about 95% of the way through the building of the first one. Like I say, I wanted to take my time. I didn't want to rush it. You know, the last thing I want is when I switch this on, it not to work. So, you know, I've took a bit of time to make sure, you know, all of it is done to a relatively high standard. So that'll be what it looks like when it's mounted onto the board. It'll slot down a little bit more than that actually. There we go. So it looks something like that. There you go. So we're not far away. My target was to finish that this week, and you know, I can do if I can get them components ordered and delivered. I'm waiting for a few components to be delivered over the next day or so, and when they come I'll solder those on as well. But I really want to get this up and running and working before I go away next week, so I can just leave it whilst I'm away for the first week, and we can all look at the first week's data when I come back. So that's where we are, guys. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm just going to say, guys, you know, you can support us, and we really could do with the support. We've spent a fortune on this already, and you know, it'd be great if a few more people would come on board and just give us a bit of support for this, because you know, it's for all of us, the information you know, that we get off these. We all want to know at what levels around the world the cosmic radiation is inbound, and you know, we can make decisions based on that information if we need to. So it'd be great, like I say, if we could get some support. The link's down there. You can support us on Patreon, and you can also support us on PayPal if you want to make a one-off payment. You can do it on there, probably the fastest way. Anyhow, so guys, I'm going to say what I usually do. You have a great week, and I'll catch up with you later on in the week, maybe with an update on how we're getting on, and I'll say what I usually do. Have a great time. As always, bye for now.